We are following the latest stunning development in the House Select Committee's January 6th investigation. At any moment now, former Trump White House advisor Steve Bannon is expected to surrender to authorities after refusing to cooperate with Congress. He's facing contempt charges after defying a subpoena issued by House lawmakers investigating the insurrection. Bannon refused to appear for a deposition and never turned over key documents. Critics have accused former President Trump and most of his allies of stonewalling the committee by claiming executive privilege. So joining us now is CBS News legal contributor and former Manhattan prosecutor, Rebecca Roiphe. All right, let's talk about this, Rebecca. I said that, Steve Bannon's not having the best Monday. We won't be. But can you take us through just what we will see today? He's supposed to turn himself in. He's going to make a court appearance. What will that look like?
So, Anne-Marie, at this court appearance, three things essentially happen. First, he's read the charges against him, and then he decides how he's going to plead. We all expect that he'll plead not guilty to these charges, and then bail or release is determined. So those three things will happen today. It's fairly standard and should be pretty routine.
So, as we know, Steve Bannon said he wasn't going to appear before Congress because of, executive privilege. And not only did he not have that, because executive privilege is something that is the consideration of the current president, not a past president, but also Steve Bannon was not even working at the White House during the January 6th attack on the Capitol. So, aside from the whole executive privilege thing out the window, doesn't make any sense, what are the committee members actually hoping to find out from him if he wasn't even there on that day?
So, I think that the committee thinks that Bannon was involved in the planning stages for January 6th. Certainly, he said things that make one believe that he had some involvement in what was going on. At least he was trying to project and portray that. So the January 6th committee is looking to talk to him so that they can figure out what was going on, what involvement he had with the former president, and what he had planned and what insight he had to how things were being planned that day.
So the thing about, contempt of Congress is that it's not a little deal. It's a big deal. After today's appearance, how does the case proceed? And there is a possibility of jail time for Steve Bannon if he's found guilty.
Yeah, absolutely. He's charged with 2 counts of contempt of Congress, and each one he faces a fine and up to a year in jail. And, that's significant for someone his age and of his stature. And, I think that it's, sending a significant message both to Bannon and to others that this is a significant thing. I mean, the one question here is, I think that the January 6th committee is playing a legal game, and Bannon and some of the former president's supporters are actually playing a political game. And this is the former president's MO. He likes not only to defy, but also to very publicly and very dramatically claim that whatever investigation is something that he doesn't like is illegitimate. And so, this is just one of the many ways in which he can do that. And in that case, appearing before court, all of these things that we consider so grave from a legal standpoint, in a way, is a political posture that is meant to send a message out to his supporters. We are defying this whole thing. This whole thing is illegitimate. It's the, Democrats who are after us. The one thing is there's a point at which the rubber hits the road and you can't pretend anymore. And that's the point that Bannon's reached at this point. And there are real consequences, real legal consequences to what he's done.
Yeah, exactly. Donald Trump is no longer in office, so he can't grant you clemency like he did over that wall debacle thing that they were raising money for. So former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, though, did the same thing. He defied his own subpoena from the January 6th committee on Friday. Could we see this withholding pattern continue, do you think? Or, perhaps others are watching to see how things unfold with Steve Bannon. I don't know. Maybe Mark Meadows would have made a different decision if he didn't have to make his decision last week, if he could, if he could see that what was happening today. I'm sort of bumbling my words. But the point is, I'm assuming that the committee is trying to make a little bit of an example of Steve Bannon to let others know, listen, we're taking this very seriously. You could withhold, but you're taking a major risk. How do you think moving forward compliance with subpoenas will go?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to know. I think it really does depend on how much this is a political game versus a legal game. So, at this point, it is working politically to align with the former president and to play the game that he used to play. And so, as long as that's true, I think we will see some people at least continue to do that. But again, there are real legal consequences. And the question is whether or not, these indictments will continue. And that's another question, because Mark Meadows, of course, is in a slightly different position than Steve Bannon is in that he wasn't a former White House official. He was a current White House official. So at least there's a slightly more colorable claim, even though most legal scholars would say it's still an illegitimate claim. But, here we are forcing the courts to weigh in here and the Department of Justice to weigh in here. So, I think there are a few question marks, but if the Department of Justice continues to charge these cases, I think the cost is going to become clearer, and perhaps we'll see fewer people playing this particular card.
Rebecca Roiphe, thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne Marie.